Hey guys, Joe Miles here with Osseo Gear. This is the Mission Whitetail Podcast. We're going to be doing a deep dive into what it truly takes to kill these mature bucks. We're going to step outside the box and look at the why for gear, tactics, training, and more importantly, the mindset from over 35 years of chasing these magnificent animals all over North America. Thank you for following along and welcome to Mission Whitetail.
All right, guys, welcome back. Mission Whitetail. Got a really cool episode today. We're going to be talking all things e-bikes, I should say. And, you know, the word game changer gets thrown around in the hunting space quite a bit, and it's overused. But I do have to say an e-bike really does change the game as far as accessing ground scent and that sort of thing. And I've got my buddy Dieter on today with FaceOff EBikes, and they make an incredible product. Dieter, welcome, man. Glad to have you on.
Well, thank you. Definitely a privilege. This feels like the big leagues on this podcast. So, yeah, definitely excited to be here.
No, man, I don't know about that, but I appreciate that. And I wanted to, give our listeners just a little bit of background on you. You were a part of Whitetail Addictions, been a part of that for a long time, have helped design products with Andre, Cody, and have been in the whitetail game for a long time. And you are Upper Peninsula in Michigan. You've got you're pretty much a public land guy, about as hardcore a whitetail guy as far as what you hunt, where you hunt, and the weather you hunt in. So, and not only that, I mentioned ground scent earlier. You do a lot with canines, with law enforcement, so you've learned a lot there as far as ground scents, or you maybe not learned it, maybe you know it. But anyway, Dieter, give us a little more background on you and how you got started with the e-bike and what you see there as advantages.
Yeah, definitely. I think, like you said, they are a game changer, especially like once you start to use them, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, you almost start to rely on them more than you ever thought you would, where your whole strategy is kind of shaped around how you can use the bike, whether that's access or, as a public land guy, kind of hiding where you're hunting and just kind of public land is a game in its own, whether it's you have kind of the game against the animal, and then you have against some of the other hunters with kind of deceptive kind of creativity, where if you can park your truck in one place and hunt in a different area, you're gonna be way less likely to have people walk in on you. So just doing things like that. But for me, it started with an out-of-state trip to Nebraska, and went out there. I didn't know what to expect. It was a mule deer hunt. I figured I was going to go out there and it was just going to be a bunch of serious mule deer hunters, and it ended up just being a bunch of Midwestern whitetail hunters kind of throwing whitetail tactics at mule deer. And the one big thing was that there's big chunks of land where if you had the ability to get further away from the roads or the parking areas, you'd have areas completely to yourself. So from there, it's like, hey, I got to look into doing something with a bike. My father-in-law was a Trek dealer. I understood kind of mountain bikes, and I was looking at what was available on the marketplace. And I just thought that I could I had ideas where I thought I could do things better than what was going on. So I got in right about at the right time. I think the bike market really peaked during COVID. So it was pre-COVID. And I ended up just kind of getting some contacts where I could get parts and different things. And it originally started as kind of just Frankensteining bikes together and creating, what I wanted in a hunting situation. And then that evolved to making bikes for buddies, my brother, starting to sell bikes. And it just I had never really had the intention of starting a company or a brand really. And we learned things early on where originally it was stealth e-bikes just because we needed a name to basically put on the bike. But I quickly learned that, the name needed to be trademarked, needed to be able to protect that. There was some brand confusion. So we ended up relaunching as FaceOff EBikes. It was probably 2.5 years ago, and just designing bikes specifically for hunters, where I think a lot of the current designs are more of for the greater marketplace, or they have kind of past connotations where it's particularly step through frames. Like there's really no reason to have a top bar on a bike designed for hunting when you're talking about equipment, boots and stuff like that. But historically that's been a woman's bike. So that's where some of I think there's design flaws inherent in the marketplace with them trying to sell bikes to a large percentage of the population compared to really narrowing it down to what hunters want. And the one thing that separated us early on was we were probably one of I think the first company to really do like a single speed bike, where our bikes would only go 17 miles an hour, and people thought we were crazy to begin with. Everybody's like, oh, you got to go faster, you got to do this, I want to be able to go 28 miles an hour. And it's like, if you're going through the woods, through trees, field edges, like if you can gear the bike to climb everything where you don't have to pedal, eliminate the derailleur, which was kind of the number one part to fail on the bike, getting clogged with grass and different things, and just really look at the features for what hunters want and what they need. That's kind of the sole kind of design ideas behind what we're doing.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I actually have your bike right now in my office, right in front of my desk, and my hunting place. We've got thousands of acres of swamp ground here, in 10 minutes from my office. So I'm in and out of the office every chance I get to go down and hunt, and it makes life so easy to have those bikes on those big swamp roads. A lot of it's timber ground, and they've got logging roads and stuff, so you can really skate around. But talking about your bike, I mean, obviously guys, have seen the Quiet Cat come on the scene, and the Rambo, and the this and the that. But your bike to me is like the beefed up 4x4 of e-bikes. It is robust. It is. It feels like it's bulletproof. Like if you had a I don't know, going to military, like almost like a military carrier bike. Maybe I'm describing it wrong, but to me, it's just it's like you took all of the components you liked from all the other stuff that was on the market and beefed everything up and made it like just completely bulletproof for us hunters.
And that was, I mean, early on, it was basically any part that would fail, we looked at how can we make it better, stronger. And originally, so the first parts to fail were the derailleurs. So it's like, okay, how can we just completely eliminate that? And we eliminated it with the single speeds, and then later with some of the internally geared hubs. And the next part after that was the headsets. For whatever reason, a lot of the fat frame bike had cheaper headsets in them. So we started using, the company I use is Wolf Tooth Components out of Minnesota. So using their headsets, and the headset's the bearing group in the front of the bike. So if you ever had like play in the front of the bike, that's the front headset. So that was the next part. And then the last part recently was the rear hub, where the rear hubs, how they work is when a bike freewheels, the hub can spin without the pedals moving, is basically that little clicking noise you hear. So what happens if the pawls are the little things that are spinning in there, and they engage for the bike to move forward. If they don't fully engage when you're under a load, whether that's pulling something on a trailer or going up a hill, they're prone to break off. And there's only so many hubs on the market that fit fat tire bikes that are that wide. And so everybody's using the same hub. Whether it was me originally, Baku, Quiet Cat, Rambo, they're all using the same hub, but that hub had, what I'd consider a poor design. So we redesigned that to where the new hub that we designed is 3 times stronger than that hub. And then we're going to be coming out working with another company where our hub's going to be completely silent, where you eliminate we eliminated most of the clicking noise with the one we developed, where it was kind of designed mostly for strength, and now we're going to be able to do strength and silent, to where there won't be any of that freewheel clicking noise in the rear hub. And so we're excited about that. And it's just any part that fails, we're going to look at and see if we can make it stronger, and just constantly. I think, we were lucky enough to partner with Lone Wolf Custom Gear and work with Andre on a lot of the designs. And the one thing that I learned from him was, you're always looking to get better. Like you can't just sit and rest where you're at. You're moving forward. You're making changes. You're making things better. And working with him, it was really good for me to look at, because he's constantly looking at how he can make things better. And originally, it's kind of like, oh, geez, now what doesn't he like? Because it's one thing after another. But once you get beyond and don't take it personal, you see that it's all about the product. It's all about making the product as good as it can be. And so that's been really good for me and for the company.
Yeah, super innovative guy, Andre, with Lone Wolf. But let's talk about that a little bit more, because guys that are interested, obviously guys that are listening to this podcast are intimately familiar with Lone Wolf, and a lot of them run the Lone Wolf Custom Gear stuff. Talk about how you integrated, that rear platform on your bike to incorporate directly the Lone Wolf stands, because that's a really neat system. And it's unique to the market. Nobody else has got anything like that.
Yeah, so that was a lot because it was probably about 2 years ago, I think I brought him like the first prototype bike. It was actually to the Dell show. I brought it back there, and immediately we got to do this, change that, do this. And so that's where a lot of the designs it was a busy year, where basically, we completely redesigned a bike, a frame, and a bunch of different parts in a short period of time. And he basically took the lead on the rear rack, which is the Lone Wolf pack rack. And it has patent pending features where it integrates and locks in with the seat post of the stands. And then it has other features where there's wings that you can use a cam strap that are designed to flex and lock everything in. So he's got more and more ideas. I just recently got the prototype for his bow holder you can either mount it on the back or the front. He wants to be able to haul a pole saw, and he designed the bike. A lot of the design is like, he's wanted to do a bike for many years, and it was like, these are all the things that I want this bike to do, and implementing those designs and a lot in how he hunts. So he always has a stand on the back of the bike. He's scouting every day. He's moving sets. So he's pushing the bike to the limits, and it's made the bikes better and better as we're taking his ideas, implementing them, and then obviously having access to the ideas he had for the pack rack and hauling equipment, and really making it, the ultimate mobile hunting transport system.
Yeah, you mentioned something about noise earlier, and I really, and just like us with product, we talk about noise, and most guys are like, your system or your clothing is so quiet, and I'm like, man, we got to get better, we got to make it quieter, we got to do this, we got to do that, and you talked about you got rid of most of the clicking. I don't hear it, when I'm riding your bike, to me it's completely silent, but just like us, you're so in tuned with what you're looking for that I can definitely appreciate that like you said, you're constantly looking to improve stuff.
Yeah, and then the number one priority has always been strength. So, I mean, guys need the bike to work for a limited period of time, really. I mean, most guys aren't driving them the entire season. I mean, they might have a week vacation, they might be lucky to have 2 weeks. So the we can't afford for the bike to break down during the period of time they need it. So we need to, design out all the things that could possibly go wrong. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be something that can happen, but if we can take care of everything we can control, beef it up, make it to where it's as bulletproof as possible. In some regards, we're balancing simplicity with complex technology, where the simpler the design, one, it's going to be less prone to failure, but two, probably, I mean, over 90% of the customer service calls are user error.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't have things too complicated where people they don't know how to operate it. And it's not like it's crazy complicated, but it's a weird market where, I mean, we're selling an expensive high-end bike, and normally with products like that, people kind of work their way up to that product where they have some understanding. But it's like we get a lot of customers that are they want the best. They're going to buy it right off the bat, and they're just jumping in both feet first, but they have very limited understanding, where you might get questions about inflating the tires and things that you would think would be fairly simple. But that's where, if we can make the bikes where they're extremely user friendly, I think getting rid of the derailleur was a big thing, because when we sold bikes with derailleurs, probably the vast majority of the customer service calls were derailleurs out of tune or improper shifting, things like that. So it became there's so many moving parts in the derailleur that people want to be able to know nothing about bikes, hop on it, and be able to ride it flawlessly for their week of vacation. And that's kind of where our design focus is.
Yeah, no, I think it is. I mean, the touchscreen is very simple, to cut on. I mean, I text you and asked you a question about getting it into all-wheel drive, and that was just double tapping the plus or whatever it was, and that was a simple process, and that was really all I had. And I asked you about a rack for it, and you sent me a link for that. And I know you guys are working on a rack now for to go into the guys' hitching hauls. A lot of guys just put them in the bed of their truck. That's a really easy process too. I want to back up just a little bit. So, some guys might not know what the derailleur is. So walk us through exactly what a derailleur is, and obviously we know the problems. I mean, I when I had bikes with derailleurs, they would the mud in my swamp would get caked up on those things, and they would completely break off. I mean, if it had rained in our swamp at all, I could not use a bike. And you have definitely solved that problem. And I think you offer a chain version and a belt version, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, walk us through the derailleur and the chain and the belt.
Sure. So the derailleur is the shifting component on the rear of the bike that moves the chain into the different gears. It's an incredible invention, but it was never designed to drive off the road through 6-foot tall grass, through mud, and do all these other things. It's a fine motor skill product. Like it needs to be in tune to get the chain exactly where it needs to do. So for hunting, that was the part would break, and the other part is the ability for the bike to climb steep terrain without pedaling has to do with the gear ratio. So it's a math equation. How many teeth in the front chain ring divided by how many teeth in the rear cog gives you the gear ratio. So with derailleur bikes, a lot of the ways they get good climbing gear ratios, they'll run like 11-speed derailleur, which means it has 11 different gears in the back. But the problem is when you jam that many gears into the back, you're forced to use thin chains. So the thinnest chain you can buy in the market's a 12-speed chain, then an 11-speed chain, and then there's 8, 7-speed chains. But when we eliminated the derailleur, we could use a chain that was way wider that wouldn't even fit through a derailleur. So we are using stronger chains that are way less likely to break. And with those thick chains and the single gear, the whole system's extremely tight. So you can, it's just going to cut through thick mud, cut through grass. I've had customers actually catch like a cam buckle strap in the chain, and it would broke the strap. And we know what the tensile strength of those straps are. So it's a robust drivetrain where it's a thick chain, and then we're also designing our own rear cogs that are triple steel. So I know people are going to drive through grass. I think Rendell sent me a couple videos where he's driving through 7-foot tall CRP, so they can drive through super tall grass. You don't have to worry about stuff getting clogged up. Mud is a big problem I get those questions down south, and then Kansas seems to get quite a bit of mud. So having everything tight like that, you can cut through anything. The chain's not going to come off. You know, if you have it where it's tensioned properly, it's going to be so tight that it can't come off. So those are unique concerns for hunters, where bikes, when the original derailleur was designed, I mean, bikes were not intended to drive straight through 6-foot tall grass, cornfields, sticks, all that kinds of stuff. They're more designed for trails, roadway use. So it's just kind of getting away from, you know, kind of old thought processes that don't apply to what hunters need and current technology. So taking the power that these motors can generate and putting it in a configuration that's going to maximize torque, maximize hill climbing, because 99% of my customers have zero intention on pedaling the bike. So they're mostly throttle-only designs. They're not for exercise. They're just get you to your tree where you're not overheated and have the ability to, if you're able to harvest an animal, pull that animal out of the woods and get you back home.
Now, do you make a sleigh to go with it, or a trailer to go that the guys can buy as well?
We don't make trailers only because there's a handful on the market, and they all have positives and negatives. Mm-hmm. So what we did was we designed the bikes where all the trailers on the market will hook onto the bike, whether it's higher up on the rear rack, or we eliminated where people had to attach the low attachment trailers to the axle, just because when you start adding that much weight to the axle, then there's a risk of bending the axle, and then you have a stranded hunter. So we just integrated those attachment points into the frame, where there's threaded spots on the frame where you just bolt on those low attachment trailers without having to bolt them straight to the axle.
Gotcha. And backing up again, I'm sorry, Dieter, I keep derailing our derailleur conversation here, but the belt, you also offer a belt as opposed to a chain. What would be the advantage, disadvantage, or is just kind of a personal preference?
It's a little bit of a personal preference, and I think the chain technology is increasing to where the chains are almost as strong as the belt. So originally the belt did have a strength advantage, and then the biggest advantage was maintenance, where you didn't have to oil the belt. The problem with the belts is you're more limited with your gear ratio configuration, because there's only so many belts on the market. And with a single speed bike, you need a perfect distance between your chain ring and your rear cog, where that chain or belt's going to be tight. And we're talking, millimeters of difference is the difference between a properly designed single speed and then one that's kind of just slapped together with, an exterior tensioner or something like that. So right now I'm leaning more towards the chain technology. We'll still do the belts for people who request them, but the the chain seems more versatile. It has deeper engagement, so the cog is fitted deeper into the chain, where there's the chain is not going to be able to kind of work its way onto the next tooth under a high load or high torque. Whereas the belt, in some situation, if it's, a significant hill, a heavier rider, the frame is going to flex just enough for that belt to find enough room where it's going to want to kind of pull into the next set of grooves. Mm-hmm. So that's something we're working around, but I think the direction's probably heading more back to the chains, just because I think they're more bulletproof, and then if you break a chain, they're much easier to deal with a quick link or something like that, rather than the belt. The entire thing would have to be replaced, and there's actually a break in the frame because the belt's one piece, where there'd be a couple more steps to do the maintenance in the field.
I got you. Let's I got two more things, Dieter, to talk about. Let's talk about, obviously from a convenience standpoint and being able to get into areas and get right up to your stand, all that is important. But with your law enforcement background, let's talk about, and I don't want to put a round peg in a square hole here, but let's talk about how important leaving as little ground scent is, because I don't think guys realize how important that is. I was hunting in our swamp the other morning, and I've got a kind of a funnel area set up, and I swung around behind the stand with my access. I came in, I had a deer it came in like it should not have, which sometimes obviously they do, and hit my ground scent and game over. And we're talking 4 hours after I had walked in there. But if we do maybe we'll have you back on another time and we can talk a lot more about ground scent and that sort of thing. But maybe just touch on that a little bit, with your experience with running the canines, just how important it is to try to eliminate as much ground scent as you can, and how a bike plays a pivotal part in that.
Yeah, I think access is one of the most important things, and it's a combination of a couple things with the ground scent, because there's going to be, anytime we walk, there's ground disturbance odor where our foot contacts the ground, and then there's going to also be scent rafts coming off of our body. So there's a plume of human odor going along the ground. But kind of the amazing thing that the dogs and the deer are going to be able to do is they're going to be able to age that track, and they can tell the difference between a 200-pound man or a 150-pound person, where right where they step, it's going to be a totally different odor, and each person has different smells. So it's extremely complex, but I think the other thing is what they've been conditioned to fear. So they've been conditioned over their life that a walking human is something that's probably dangerous, to where they have less an opinion of, obviously farm equipment, sometimes vehicles, and then the bike really, for whatever reason, whether it's odor related or just a conditioning thing, they have very little fear of the bike, where, you can drive right past them. They seem to just watch you go by. They don't blow out of the field. Like if you walk through a field compared to if you drive your bike, you could have a completely different response from the deer. And I saw this year. I had a spot I was hunting where it ended up being like a farmed lentil field where brassicas had been planted, where it had those stalks sticking up where it's impossible to be quiet.
Right.
Like you can't, no matter what you do, you're not going to be quiet. So if you tried to walk through there, you have zero chance. You'd be tiptoeing or whatever, and it'd probably be worse than if you just ran across it, type of deal. But driving the bike, they just sit there and then go on their merry way. So I think there's both a scent advantage where you're not putting footstep odor, which they're very concerned about, on the ground. And then it's just a noise, and it could change in the future. Like if everybody starts, it could evolve to where it's the same thing with four-wheelers. I think for whatever reason, the sound and smell of a four-wheeler is way more alerting than like a tractor in the field. So a lot of it's conditioning, but for now, there's just a tremendous advantage to using a bike.
No, it's funny you bring that up. I'm a member of a hunt club down in this same river basin, and everybody has some type of side-by-side or a four-wheeler. And Saturday mornings, 30 minutes before daylight, all the four-wheelers, all the side-by-sides crank up. Everybody goes to their spot. And then 9:30 in the morning, all the four-wheelers crank back up. They all come back in. Off the guys go to breakfast. And if I sit until 11 o'clock on those mornings, I try to avoid the weekends as much as I can because it's really crowded then. But if I sit until 11, from 9:30 to 11, it is like daylight. I mean, the deer are as soon as they hear those four-wheelers crank up and get out of there. So that is so very true how they condition what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, we're basically, the way I look at it is, and it's the same thing training dogs, is every time I go into the woods, I'm teaching the deer something, and I can control what they learn. So if you want to kind of get them off balance, or think about everything you're doing, where if you walk in a certain way, how is this helping me or hurting me? And just trying to put everything in your favor. And I think some of that is where you hear some people talking about, stacking woodlots or doing different things. So you can use your intrusion to benefit you in a different way. And it's the same thing if I got busted. If I'm in a tree and I totally got busted by a deer, well, I taught the deer that this is a dangerous place based on his behavior, where he went or what is in the area. Where is he going to go next? Because he's probably not going to come here, but he's going to have to go somewhere. Sure. He's not going to completely leave the state. So, taking your mistakes or, intentional actions and trying to put things in your favor is kind of the one thing that's evolved training the dogs. Because like you can inadvertently train your dog to do all kinds of things that you don't even realize that you're doing it, and then you're like, oh well, that's my own fault. I mean, he's doing what I've trained him to do, even though I didn't realize that's what I was doing. So that was the big thing I think that changed with training dogs, where dogs, deer, animals, they all learn the same way through positive and negative reinforcement. So taking advantage of that and kind of manipulating what the deer do. And it's the same thing. I mean, baiting is a form of classical conditioning where you're rewarding the deer for a certain behavior, and as long as there's not a negative consequence, they're probably going to do it for a considerable amount of time. And it's, in heavy baiting states, it's more difficult because they've had negative interactions. They've got shot at. They've started to fear this. But if you're in a state that no one else was allowed to bait and you're the only person allowed to bait, I mean, it'd be a ridiculous advantage, because you'd have the ability to completely shape behavior of the animals.
Right. Yeah. Just feed them, reward them for coming to that spot over and over and over again, and then ambush them. Yeah, that's exactly right. Whereas here in South Carolina, every single, place that you can hunt has got a feeder, a food plot, and a hunter with a 300 Win Mag or a 30-06, and that button buck saw his mom and his brother and everybody else get killed in that food plot or around that feeder, and they might come into those things, but it's at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Because they've learned they can come in there at night and be okay. But boy, if they come in there at first light, they're rolling the dice.
Yeah, they get rewarded to come at night, and it's a reward system. I mean, all animals, even humans for that matter, learn through a reward system. And if we could take advantage of it, it's just another kind of trick in the playbook.
Yep. All right, Dieter, to close this out here, buddy, tell us kind of the price points of your bikes, and then I want guys to know how they can get in touch and how they can order a bike. I know you shipped mine down to me. It was a very simple process. I am not the most what's the word, Andrew? Good at putting stuff together. What would that word be? Crafty, is that the right word? I'm not the most skilled crafty guy, so I took the bike actually to a local bike shop, and they put it together because I wanted to make sure everything was right. But they were like, when I went to pick it up, they were like, you could have done this yourself, and they looked at me like I was an absolute idiot. So obviously they are very simple to put together. But just saying, you will ship them, to different guys. And so tell us kind of the process there, the price points for your bikes, and how guys can get in touch with you to order one.
Yep. So the website, www.faceoffebikes.com. That's where you'll see all the models. Our bikes start at $5,000, so we're in that higher price range. A lot of that has to do with, like, I know I could sell way more bikes for $1,500, but I know they'll break.
Yep.
So, I mean, my whole thought, I'm just going to build them higher quality. They're not going to break, and that's that limits my customer service calls, any breakdowns. So that's where the starting price is. They go up from there with some of the more expensive components. Like our most expensive bike has the roll-off hub, which is a 14-speed automatic shifting hub. So just that part, it's a $2,200 part. So that's where the price jump starts to happen with some of the bikes. So we have bikes priced up to $6,800, so right in that range. Most of the customers I end up talking to on the phone, I want to make sure that you get the exact bike to fit your needs. We have a bunch of different models for whatever your hunting situation is, what you think would be best for you. Some people love the simplicity of just having the single speed bike. And then we have the all-wheel drive bikes like you have. And then we have the internally geared hubs that shift and go up to 30 miles an hour are the other models we have. So there's something for everything. They're all designed specifically for hunting. Most of them are built off of the same frame, so they have a lot of similar features, and it's just a matter of what's going to best fit your needs and your hunting situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're priced extremely fairly for what you're getting, because, like I said, to start this off, it really is like the military carrier or a military style beefed up hardcore, can't break it, indestructible bike, and that's what I love about it, is that we run them hard in the swamp. We've got cutovers, and before I had an old Rad Rover, and man, I couldn't drive that thing in a cutover. It would break apart, and that was your $1,200 or $1,800 bike, and man, your bike, I can take it anywhere. I mean, literally over logs, through the cutovers, through the CRP fields, like what Rendell sent you. So yeah, I mean, price wise, it is worth every cent. So yeah, guys, check them out, FaceOffEBikes.com, and obviously if you've got any questions about it, you can reach out to Dieter directly or reach out to me, at Osseo Gear, Joe at Osseo Gear, and Dieter, you do some social media stuff as well. Can guys follow along on social media?
Yeah, we have a Facebook page, so that's FaceOff EBikes on Facebook and Instagram. So I try to put more and more information out that, whether it's just overall e-bike hunting type content or stuff specifically about our bikes. If we have any deals coming up or new models released. So probably the best place is on Facebook, and then people can message me through there, call me on the phone or anything like that if they have any questions, because I understand it's a big purchase, and I want to make sure people get exactly what they want, and definitely want to exceed expectations and have happy customers. So that's that's what we try to do.
No, and you do a great job of it. And Dieter, I'd love to have you back and really do like a scent, episode where we talk about, more ground scent, what you do for scent control and that sort of thing, if anything. And would you be up for doing that? Maybe in a couple weeks, we'll get you back on and just do a whole one on scent control.
Yeah, I'd love to. That's it's a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and it gets plenty of conversations out there. Yeah, it's probably the taboo topic in the hunting industry.
No doubt. Well, man, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking time on Friday to hop on here with us. And guys, check out the FaceOff EBikes. And I can't say enough about how just robust and bulletproof these things are. So, guys, really appreciate it. Thank you all very much. And, Dieter, thank you for coming on, pal.
Thank you. My pleasure.
All right, guys, got my buddy Steve Pinkston here from Ohio, and I'm just going to give a little bit of a backstory. Steve and I have been buddies for several years and met each other through the Whitetail Addictions, Lone Wolf Custom Gear, and just from being around big deer. And Steve owns Hardcore eCycles out of Ohio. They make great e-bikes. And one thing that I think is important, regardless of any product that guys might be looking into, it's important if a guy's coming out with a specific product is that he's got experience in that world. And if you're coming out with an e-bike or whatever it may be, let's just say e-bike. If you're coming out with an e-bike for big buck killers or for guys that are going to whitetail hunt, it'd be kind of important to have a lot of experience chasing big deer and chasing whitetail in general. And Steve is one of those guys that literally knocks down a big deer every single year. He's been doing it for years and years and years, and is quite frankly a mentor to a lot of guys, including myself, in chasing these big deer. So, Steve, welcome to the Mission Whitetail Show, buddy. Appreciate you taking your time to get on here and talk everything e-bikes. Thank you for all you do.
Well, Joe, thank you very much for that great introduction. I sure appreciate that, and I follow you, and you're obviously your products. I love your products. They do awesome. They're awesome for me and awesome for everybody else, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast. I follow you every week.
Well, I appreciate that. It's we've toyed with this for too long, so I'm glad to do it, and we'll have another one. We'll do another one, just you and I here, in the next months or so to talk big deer, because I know that's your favorite topic and mine too.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
so yeah, we'll definitely get into that. And guys, just so you're aware, Steve sent me his newest model. It's his Maverick, and if I am classifying this, I call it the Ninja of e-bikes. This thing is very maneuverable. It's easy to ride. You can stand up on it. It's completely different. It's almost like a electric scooter. You can stand up on this thing. It is unbelievable how fast it is. We had it out here in the parking lot when Ryan brought it. Finally got Ryan to bring it from his farm to me. He came over and had lunch with me, and he was hoping I was going to forget about it, but I was not going to forget about that bike, and brought it over, and we were zipping this thing around in the parking lot here at the office. And I guess it's I don't think it's called turbo, but it's like the high boost mode. And I'll let you talk about it. But anyway, that thing, it will flat. If I had hair, it would definitely blow it back.
Yep, absolutely. The Maverick is a result of basically 6 years of kind of trying to chase the perfect combination for a hunting bike. As you mentioned earlier, the whitetails are my passion. I absolutely live every day for whitetails, family first, obviously, but it's been tough keeping those priorities lined up over the years, and my family would attest to that. But the e-bikes part of this was something I did long before I built them. As far as for people, I just made my own and tried to figure out exactly what the best combinations were, and the Maverick is that result. It is literally, in my opinion, it's the absolute best hunting companion out there. I mean, it allows you to stand, sit, lean. There's no pedals. It's throttle driven completely, 100%. has a ton of power, 1,000 watts in the rear, 750 in the front. We beef all of our bikes up with big batteries, 60 volts, 20 amp hours. And I made a couple notes here to talk about, try to highlight the things that are important, that what we've learned in 6 years of building bikes. And the aspect of the Maverick is just easy. Size matters. Size is very important. I mean, we don't do any great big bikes anymore. We've found that size is very important to controlling those bikes in situations where you're going to be challenged. You'll be side hilled, you could be in mud. We expect you to put these bikes through the paces that you put yourself through in hunting situations. So they got to hold up, and they've got to be able to be maneuvered fluently, so that you're not going to be in a situation where you're going to get hurt, or you're going to fail what you're trying to do. So I hope you've experienced some of that with the Maverick, because that is really a totality of lots of ideas over the years.
No, the thing that strikes me about it that is unique and really incredible feature is the fact that you've got that deck that you can stand up on. There are no pedals, so it's a completely different animal than what's been on the market, and it's super unique. And as far as just zipping around these swamp roads and being able to tuck it in and hide it and different stuff, it's kind of, again, it's like that Swamp Fox Ninja, small, compact, but deadly package. So it's a neat bike.
I feel compelled to let people know where the idea came from, as far as obviously scooters have been around forever when it comes to that aspect, but to make them into a hunting situation. Since I've started this, I've never pedaled. I only pedal when I absolutely have to, and when I'm on my bike. And the bikes that I've designed over the years, we try to make them powerful enough that you don't need to pedal. We're not trying to work up a sweat. But literally, one of my friends and the guy that sets my bow up for me, he owns an archery shop here in town, Fisherman's Warehouse. His name's Mark Menschel. He's a whitetail machine himself. But I'm visiting him one day, and he's setting up my bow. I look over off to the side, and my bike's sitting there, and I notice he's got the one pedal turned around in the other direction, and they're literally sitting side by side. In a normal situation, pedals would be like this, one front, one back. He's got this one turned around, and he's got a cable wrapped between them, literally locking those pedals where they can't move. And I said, what exactly is going on with the bike here? What are you doing here? He says, what do you mean? I said, that's not how I brought it to you. What's up with those pedals? And he said, I never pedal anyway. He said, I don't want to pedal. I want a place to put my feet, and I only use the throttle. And I'm going to tell you, Joe, the bell went off right then. I'm like, man, that is so accurate right there. We don't pedal. We don't want to pedal. We don't want to have to pedal. In situations where we need to pedal, it's probably going to be a stressful situation. Climbing, we can build a bike compatible to that. But let's try this, and that's where this idea. I tested this thing for over a year. I built the first prototype, and I used it myself, and I had guys like Heath Cisco, who's probably, most guys know Heath in the whitetail circles. I gave it to him, and I said, tear this thing apart. I took it to give it to another guy, tear this thing apart. After I'd taken my buck that year, I passed it around, and I said, give me all the ideas you've got. And the result is the new Maverick. We gave it plenty of ground clearance. We gave it a wider stance, plenty of power. We've done away with thumb throttles. Thumb throttles left our situation 3 years ago. They don't work. They don't stay working. They stick. I can't tell you the number of times my bike has wanted to drive right up the side of my truck because the throttle's been stuck, and you push the button and the throttle's stuck, and the next thing you know, you're chasing a bike. And all those, that's just gone. Stuff that we've learned, I guess, is what I'm getting at. A heavy-duty twist throttle, you probably noticed on that, whenever you hit the throttle, you don't have to do much to let go of it. It's coming right back to turn it off. It's important to be able to control the bike in stressful situations, and that's just part of it, another part of it. So,
well, obviously the unique design where you don't have anything to step over. You got big boots and all that on. You don't have anything to step over. You're not going to fall. The one thing is, Ryan has got, and guys that listen, maybe Ryan's listening to this, Ryan Bowers, he's a good buddy of mine, and he is a deer killing machine. He kills a ton here in South Carolina, but then he travels quite a bit too. And he's kind of a guy that's under the radar. But anyway, Ryan manages and has several thousand acres of swamp property on the Wateree. I'm over here on the Congaree, but he's about 30 minutes away. And he picked that bike up from you, Steve. It was on full charge. He brought it to his place, and I had gone to Africa and had been out of the country, and then had a lot of work stuff going on, and it probably took me 3 weeks to get that bike from him. And he brought it to me, and he had it in the back of his truck. He unloaded it, and we turned it on, and it was 98% charged. And I said, well, you charged the bike? And he goes, no, I have not taken the charger out of the package. The charger, it still had the tape. The tape on the charger box was still on it. He had run that thing for I don't know how many miles, but he had run it in his swamp to the point that it had a good bit of mud that we had to wash off of it up and down his swamp roads, and it was still 98% charged. I mean, so whatever battery you're using is pretty insane.
Well, that's a great segue into what I want to talk about with batteries, because batteries are obviously one of the most important parts of the bike, and we have learned in 6 years of doing this, we've learned that's an area that you just don't skimp on. You may be skimping and you don't even know you're skimping, because it's an entirely different industry that requires significant research and understanding to know what to put in your product, or to know what kind of battery to buy. Amp hours, for example, we use this on the Maverick. We use a 60 volt, 20 amp hour battery. Amp hours are the definition, basically, of your length of charge. So when you see these advertisements, 30 amp hour batteries or even more, I mean, what you're spending there is a lot of money on battery that you're not going to be using. If you're a normal, and I shouldn't say normal, we all have to fit in a window here somewhere. Whenever I'm rocking and rolling during the season, I'm typically riding my bike 3, 4, 5 miles a day, somewhere in that vicinity. And I'm being real here. I mean, 3 or 4 miles is 1.5 miles, 2 miles in, 1.5 miles, 2 miles out. How many people are really doing that? I mean, so if you look at that from a length of charge standpoint, 10 days before you charge your bike, I mean, I'm going to tell you the Maverick gets 40 miles per charge. Actually gets more than that, but I'm going to undersell it, so to speak, because I want to make sure that we over deliver on that end. But the battery is one of the most expensive parts of the bike, and if you're getting anything more than 20 amp hours, and if you're hunting in a situation like I just described, you're wasting money and you're wasting battery. And you can go down to 18, 16 amp hours. I think 20 is the right number, so to speak, for what we use them for. Cold temperatures do definitely affect all lithium batteries, no doubt about it. So if you're going to be hunting in but cold temperatures, you want to make sure that you're keeping your battery charged. Don't worry about how many times you have to charge it. If you're on a trip, I was in Iowa a few years ago in muzzleloader season. I tried to do the archery thing in muzzleloader season. That year was tough. We had a foot of snow and temperatures below zero every day. And I was worried about the bike. I kept the bike charged. I charged it every single night, and I had no issues with batteries. Now, if you would go 2 or 3 days doing that situation and not be smart, you might find yourself pushing, because the cold really takes it out of it. That's just accurate information. Batteries are a really big part. Don't skimp. If you're looking at a battery and you're looking at a bike, you can ask those questions. What brand name cells are in that? If it's anything besides Samsung, keep right on moving. Samsung grade A number ones is all you want. There's a safety feature to that too. I mean, when it comes to charging these things, you use the wrong charger or use cheap cells, there's issues there that aren't good. So that's something.
Yeah, no, the battery life has been insane, and you're right. I mean, you'll get guys that go to quote unquote deer camp and they don't have a way to charge the bike, and if it's bitter cold, they just got to be smart about it. But most guys have some sort of power they can get back to in the evenings. They leave in the morning, they get back, and I'm telling you, if it's mild weather, I mean, a week, 10 days, whatever it is, it's going to be no problem.
Absolutely, and that's just realistic. I mean, I talk to guys elk hunting; they're going elk hunting, and I'm going to be, gosh, Steve, I'm going to be 22 miles in, and I'm not going to be able to. Well, reality sets in. That's a long way in there. Are you really going to be in a situation where you're going to? I'm just trying to give you the best value for your buck, so to speak. Don't buy an extra battery and let it sit. If you're going to buy an extra battery, rotate them and use them at least, because batteries don't do well when they're not being used, and they do really, really well when they're being used a lot. I mean, I hope everybody understands that. You use that battery every day, all the time, it lasts a long time. You let it sit, they deteriorate. They're just like your deep cycle battery on your boat. So,
yeah,
batteries
sure.
are a big part of it.
Got to crank it up and go.
Yes, sir. Yeah, and charge it frequently. So.
Well, tell us about the accessories you have for the Maverick, Steve, and we can definitely talk about the other bikes too. I know you make before we started recording here, you mentioned some other models, and I've actually got another model of your bike, so we can get into that too. But let's talk about the accessories, like guys want to take a pack with them, or a bow, or they got a deer stand, or they've got a sled or something they want to hook up maybe to pull stuff out. So I'm sure you got notes on that. But let's dive into that a little bit.
Well, all of our bikes, especially as of now, all the racks are built right part of the bike. We don't have any nuts and bolts to get loosened up or anything like that. You may have noticed on the Maverick that when you look at the back of it, everything is all part of the bike. It's all 6061 aluminum, and it's all designed together. So therefore, nothing's going to come loose. And the way that we treat our bikes, that bouncing around and stuff, nuts and bolts can get loose. We've learned that. So therefore, that's not part of what we do anymore. Now, all you can do is accessorize it yourself, so to speak, as far as what you're going to carry. That, for example, on the Maverick, I put a pad across the back of it, and I found some straps that I really like. They're called rock straps, and I put one of those on each side. My Lone Wolf stand slides right in there with the sticks. I bring the rock straps up and snap it, pull the slack out of it, and off I go. I mean, they work really, really well for me. My backpack fits back there extremely well. I've got another backpack for my front bracket that fits really well. All those accessories, when it comes to fenders, headlights, taillights, brakes, hydraulic brakes, everything is standard on our bikes now. I figured out a few years ago that you really don't want a hunting bike without fenders, no matter what. I mean,
with the mud,
you're going to find yourself a muddy mess, and who's going to get blamed for that? That's going to be moi getting blamed for that. Why didn't they put fenders on this damn thing? So what we do, our bikes are 100% complete. They come with those headlights, taillights, front and rear fender, racks front and rear, hydraulic brakes, everything, you're ready to roll. So as far as accessories from we're concerned, we do sell a hitch, a coupler hitch that's really cool. It's just like a miniature tractor hitch where the ring pulls down and the ball drops in it. You let go of the ring, and that way your trailer behind you that's hooked to that ball can actually rotate. And this is well thought out by one of our customers, as a matter of fact. But if you're riding along, if you're pulling a trailer or if you're pulling a sled or whatever you're pulling, sometimes what's behind you is on a different elevation, and if it's a solid connection, it's going to cam. Okay, This ball lets it rotate. You have no issues with that. Just some of the things that we've learned. But that's really about the only accessory that we offer on ours, Joe. We try to make everything standard. Our other models are frankly really exciting. One of the bikes I'm most proud of is the Mountain Tamer. That's the one that you originally got last year.
Yep.
We've significantly improved that bike this year. It was the very first. We were the first, by the way, to do two-wheel drive. We did that back when these bikes first started, 19 and 20. I always wanted to do a center-driven with a front hub because there's a lot of people out there that prefer one or the other. So if I could figure out how to do that center drive motor, and there's only one that I would use, and it's the Bifang M60 series, and the reason being is it's 100% steel gears inside. Very, very dependable, super strong, torque over 170 Newton meters on its own. But we wanted to throw a hub motor with it. That's never been done. So we worked with Bifang to accomplish that, and now we have 1,000 watts in the rear through the center drive on the new Mountain Tamer with a 750 watt front hub motor, and we've added a shifting hub, an automatic shifting hub in the rear also made by Befang. The bike is just simply a monster. I mean, it'll pull your car across the track. I mean, it's absolutely crazy powerful and a blast to ride. The shifting hub is very similar to the experience of you're driving your truck. You push your foot down on the accelerator and it downshifts and takes off. The exact same thing applies with the shifting hub. And what's very important to me is all the components in our bikes, all of our models, are made and designed to work together. I'm no engineer, but I know how to find people that are smarter than me and put the stuff together. I mean, I can tell them what I want, and I can get prototypes built and work on them until they're where I want them to be. And that's where the Mountain Tamer is right now. That bike is so much fun to ride. You literally had a gentleman pick one up yesterday, and he was on the other side of the parking lot, and he stood up like he was going to pedal, like he was, like when we were kids. He'd stand up and pedal like that. Well, the bike just smoked both tires right down to. He's like, "What the hell did I do wrong?" I said, "You didn't do anything wrong." I said, "It's designed not for you to have to stand up. Just put your foot down on the pedal, and it reads how much pressure, torque sensing, how much pressure you put down on the pedal, and it shifts accordingly. So if you're climbing a hill, believe it or not, it'll actually pick up speed going up a hill. It's crazy how this bike is. Or you can ride it just throttle only. So that's the Mountain Tamer. Our 17.5 I just phased out. We just sold our last 17.5 yesterday, as a matter of fact. And the new version of the 17.5, I'm searching for a new name because I've been criticized by my family that 17.5 is a stupid name. So we redesigned the bike, and we're going to name it something else. We haven't named it as of yet, but it's 1,000 watts in the rear hub motor, all Befang components, 750 in the front, torque sensing pedal assist, which when it comes to hub bikes, it's only been cadence sensing. So therefore, when you give it the pedal, it just takes off like crazy. Now the new 17.5, which is going to be something else, but anyway, when you step down on the pedal, it'll meter your tension and take off at your pace. Or you can use the throttle on that one by itself. That bike is 60 volts, 20 amp hours as well on the battery. Mountain Tamers are 52 volts and 20 amp hours.
Gotcha.
So, hope I'm not confusing anybody.
No, not
I do this in my sleep, so
no, you can and if I do get derailed on something, I'll come back and ask you to explain that a little more. Tell us, Steve. I mean, while we talked about the different models, tell us the price points there of the Maverick, of the Mountain Tamer, and of your new named bike, the Steve. We'll call it the Pinkston.
I think we've came to the point. I think that bike's going to be called the Ace. I think
the Ace.
That's what it's going to be called, the Ace, the Hardcore Ace, I believe. But anyway, the Maverick is $34.95. The Ace is going to be $36.95, and the Mountain Tamer is $47.95. And all of our prices include LTL trucking being delivered either to your home or to the closest terminal if they won't come to your home. We've run into that a lot. Some of these folks, when we live in a neighborhood, they won't take them in there, so you have to pick them up at a terminal. But,
so that includes the shipping of the bike to the person.
Absolutely. Yep.
Wow. And they come completely assembled. Is that correct?
Very close. Very close. You have to put the front wheel on and the handlebars on, and that's pretty much it. And I send a little video for that. Make it pretty easy. It'll take you longer. In our case, it's going to take you longer to get that bike out of the box than it will for you to assemble it, because we learned a long time ago. Back when we were using UPS and FedEx, that a lot of times they don't get there looking like when they left.
You're telling Noah about the flood.
Oh man,
I know all about that.
I'm sure you do. But you put a $3,000 or $4,000 package in a box, and then the guy picks it up and tosses it across the truck when you're standing there looking at him. You're going, man, that's kind of rough, isn't it? And they do that all day long, right?
All day long.
So we just figured this out, that when we put them on a pallet and we belt them down, that, I'll knock on a little wood here, we have yet to have the first damage since we started using LTL services. So we're doing it that way. It's a little more expensive, but it's worth it to have a customer get a bike that's exactly as it left here, and then they put it together. And I'll tell you, that's a big part of this for me. I've been posting recently pictures of guys and gals that are being successful using their bikes makes me feel really good. I mean, don't get me wrong, we do this, it's a business, but
Sure.
it's so much fun to share. I mean, I literally, and I know you're going to think I'm crazy, but I've got every single customer since 2019 in my phone. And
That's neat.
when somebody calls, I try to, I mean, sometimes I'm busy, sometimes I can't get back, immediately, but I try my best. And you'd be surprised how many people text me, I can't get my bike to run. Whoa, what's going on here? I'll call them, I say, can I FaceTime you or whatever? And they've got it turned off. It's turned off. Look, you see down there where it says off? Well, yeah, what's that mean? I said, hit that up button once. Hit the up button, all of a sudden they're
off they go.
Off they go, and that's cool. I don't care. I mean, I don't want anybody, pushing their bike, and I want everybody as happy as can be, but it is so much fun to interact. I mean, they all do this stuff behind me. They're all chasing big antlers, and how can I can't hardly call that work,
No, I completely get that. No, you're building a product in an industry that you love, and you're able to help people be more successful at what they love to do. So that's a lot of fun to do that.
Yep. One thing else I got a note here. I want to stress on size. You hear the term size. Size matters, and in this particular case, it's probably the reverse. I mean, we've found out that great big bikes, heavy bikes, aren't necessarily what we need. I don't want to be critical of them out there, because there's definitely a lot of big bikes and they look cool as hell. They got the big knobby tires and all that, but they won't go where a hardcore will. And the reason for that is we put our designs in the components, and we've learned that you got to be able to control that bike. It's really important to be able to get on it, get off of it. You're carrying a load a lot of times. A lot of times you can't get your leg over top of something. That's where the Maverick came in, and frankly, all of our designs now are all step through, easy to get on, easy to get off bikes, stuff that we've learned. But the size of those bikes is really a critical point. I mean, the average guy that I talk to is around 5'8" or so, 5'10". They weigh around 200 pounds or so, and bigger can still ride our bikes. I mean, if you're a small person or young lady or whatever, I mean, you can still get on and off of our bikes, because we make them to the point where the size is conducive for everybody to be able to handle them. And I got a Kansas City football player purchased a Maverick, as a matter of fact. This guy's like 6'4", 360 pounds. It's hilarious. But he has no issues handling it. One of your buddies that you referred, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
took
Justin.
Pictures of him out here. Justin, that's a big boy right there now.
He is.
I mean,
I'm glad he's on team Osseo. He's our enforcer.
Yes. Yeah, you bet. I mean, he's had a hell of a year too, and I've kept track of him. But literally, I mean, I'm like, this is a great big guy right here. He's a perfect example that you don't need a great big bike, to get it done. You need the power and components to work together to be successful. That's what you need.
Yeah, he's loved it. Justin is a big ally for Osseo, and just a great guy. And like you said, he is a hardcore hunter and a disciplined fella. And he and Cole Powell, both of those guys, love him to death, and happy to have them as part of the family.
Yep. Yeah, he's matter of fact, I think Justin just killed his third deer this year.
He did.
He killed one in Kentucky, he killed one here, and I think the last one was Illinois.
That's right.
That boy's probably not done. So
no, probably not. He'll probably end up down in Texas or Mexico or somewhere. Yeah, he can't get enough of it. There's no doubt about that. So, yeah,
chase one of them South Carolina swamp bucks.
Yeah, oh boy, that's a whole different animal there. Golly, I'm still chasing a couple around, and going to continue. Next week Monday. We got some cold weather coming. It's warmed up here. It's gotten up into the 80s, and the mornings are still dipping down into the 60s. But I have found when we really need to get those 50s and 40s here for them to start kicking around, especially this time of year. But yeah, I'll be definitely doing that.
I've been following you on the
that?
one buck. I said I've been following you on the one that you've been chasing here the last couple of seasons. That deer still around?
Still alive. Yeah, I got pictures of him last night. He is still alive, and we've named him the River Nomad because, and Bobby Worthington is a really good buddy, and like us and like you have been in the game for a while and loves chasing those big deer. And he says that a lot of these big deer, that's what keeps them alive, is their nomadic behavior. Is they're never doing the same thing twice. And, a lot of times a buck gets on a pattern and he is dead. If he is on any type of a pattern with anybody that's got any salt or experience in the game, they're going to kill that deer on a pattern. And that's where it gets so interesting, is when you find a buck that does nothing the same way ever, it becomes quite a challenge.
An obsession. Yeah.
Yeah. Truly. The buck's going to go, he's going to go 130 to 135. He was a 10-point last year. He lost a time this year. He's 6 years old. And for us to get a buck to 6 years old in our swamp, because, rifle season starts August 15th, runs until January 1st. There is no break in the season. Rifle out the gate. You can bait. You can run them with dogs. You can, it's challenging. But he has made it that long, and it's nuts. I was talking about we have seen this is funny. We have seen where temperatures down in the 50s and 40s really help. Day before yesterday, I had left a camera on an old mineral site, and it had gotten up to 83 degrees in the afternoon. At 4:00 in the afternoon, he walked by that mineral site. I mean, now it's tucked in way off the beaten path, but it's just an old mineral site that I use for inventory, and I hadn't put mineral in it in a year, but I had left a camera on it, a text camera, and the batteries were still good in it. And I've probably gotten 15 pictures all year on that thing, and he walked right by.
He walks
4:00 in the afternoon, 80-degree weather. I mean,
how far off is that where you would be hunting him?
Quarter mile. He's in the area. I mean, he's in the area, and my biggest issue, and this was a podcast to talk about eCycles, and somehow they always morph into chasing big deer, which is fine.
Yeah.
My big issue is during the heart of when I should be hunting him religiously all day, every day for 2 weeks straight. I'm in Kansas. I'm in Ohio. I need to be at home chasing this deer, and so that I've handicapped myself a little bit, but it is what it is.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the picture, because I'm sure it's just a matter of the right time. So
I hope so. I sure do.
doubt.
Well, all right. So what do you got coming up? You said you're headed to Kansas this afternoon.
Yeah, I am. Either this afternoon or tomorrow when this weather clears. But I was out there I spent 5 days out there the week before this, and it got warm, and I came home, saw lots of really nice deer. I have a very good friend of mine that his hobby is whitetails like ours, only his other hobby is buying and selling farms in Kansas, and he's got a bunch of farms in Kansas, and he basically lets me run around on them, and I move cameras and stuff around for him. He's just a great guy, but giving me an opportunity to get out there, and I just haven't found something I want to shoot yet. And then all of a sudden that weather hit, and man, it just shut things down. It was high 70s, and I've told myself, I don't know how many times, because I never learn. I just can't seem to stay away from it. Don't go to Kansas until the 3rd week, Steve. Don't go. It's not like I'm hunting here at home where I'm glassing and I'm figure something out and I make a move and do something. I mean, I get out there in November, so I got to do the travel corridors and pay attention to what's going on. I don't like to sit over a corn pile, so I do things a little different when it comes to that. So it's always, by the time I get out there and get things figured out, weather warms up on me, and that's exactly what happened this year. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to see what I can do the 3 or 4 days before Thanksgiving, because I can't be gone Thanksgiving. I need to find a new address if I did. So anyway, got to be home for Turkey Day, right? So
no, for
we'll
sure,
see.
For sure. Well, tell everybody how they get in touch with you, and that way I know they can follow along on some social media stuff. There's obviously a lot of what you do personally on whitetail addictions, but for the hardcore eCycles, where can guys find you?
My Facebook page is my personal name, Steve Pinkston, and I also have a Facebook page for Hardcore eCycles, and they also are Instagram as well. My phone number's on those pages. Anybody can text me. I thoroughly enjoy those conversations with folks that have questions about bikes, have questions about deer. If you think I can help you with anything when it comes to deer, I mean, I'll be glad to throw my 2 cents at you for anything. Otherwise, we can just talk deer. I love having these conversations. It's a lifelong passion for me that I'm going to keep on doing it as long as I can, just like the guy I'm looking at here, I know.
Yeah,
so,
yes, sir. That's right.
But anyway, I'm easy to get a hold of, and like I said, any questions I can answer, or if you have questions about your bike and it's not my brand, if you need a question about anything when it comes to e-bikes, I've spent the last 6 years trying to get good at it, and I'm very, very proud of my products right now. My Maverick is trend-setting in my opinion. It is the best thing out there for a whitetail guy under normal conditions. The other bikes, if you prefer pedals, I mean, I'm really proud of them as well. And give me a call or a text, and I'll tell you all about them.
Yeah, for sure. Steve Pinkston, guys, one of the best to do it, one of the best guys in the game, and for sure check out Hardcore eCycles. Steve, thank you so much for being on today. Safe travels out to Kansas, and keep us posted with your success, pal.
Joe, thank you very much. I'm flattered you even invited me here. Appreciate it very much.
No, absolutely, buddy.